welcome to everyone. Let's see, we've got a good amount this morning. Good morning, everyone. Kia ora. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Effective Content Strategies for Consultants. Today I'm joined by Ben Paul and Rob Keating of the BD Ladder. And shortly I'll hand over to them to introduce themselves and then dive straight into our content. But a wee bit of housekeeping before we start. If you've never been on one of our webinars before, it's automatically being recorded. So if you've got any friends or colleagues that are like, they'd really enjoy this content, at the end of the webinar, I'll publish the recording later today. That'll be emailed straight to you if you've registered, and so you can forward that on, or encourage anyone else to look at the recording. Let me mute myself. Nope. You don't want to do that. Sorry, I was getting a bit of feedback on my own device, but we'll sort that. Other things to note is if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you should be able to type that into the chat or the Q&A section of your control panel. So just type those in whenever, and I'll try to present those to either Ben or Rob as they come. And we do have 2 polls in today's presentation. So a pop-up should come up on your screen, but I'll also maybe verbally read the poll out, and then, if for whatever reason it's not working for your device based on your, pop-up settings and whatnot, you can always type that into the chat feature. And that'll give us a bit of insight so that Rob and Ben can carry on with their presentation, having some good intel on the audience. All right, so that's my bit done. Welcome, we're recording. Type in your questions. Now I'm going to mute myself and hand over to Ben and Rob.
Thanks, Holly. Welcome, everyone. A quick introduction. I'm Ben. I'm the founder of the Business Development Ladder, the BD Ladder. We're a specialist business development and marketing consultancy that works with all forms of professional services, including engineers. We provide strategic advice to help you grow your business and get famous. I've got many years experience of having worked with engineers, lawyers, accountants. So that's who I am, and I'll let Rob introduce himself now.
Yeah, my name's Rob. I'm the head of content marketing here, working with Ben, and yeah, I enjoy sort of preparing content for our various professional services clients. I have a lot of experience in marketing and comms over a variety of different industries and areas. So I use that to help create compelling content for our clients.
Awesome, thanks, Rob. So as you've signed up today, we're here to do effective content strategy for consultants, and you can read the contents that we go through there. It's a very structured presentation. We go through with all the basics covered. There's a lot out there at the moment, and there's a lot in the last 2 years where people really have focused on digital and online and using content to kind of get their messages across, to show their expertise. So it's a really big topic that's increased and got even more popular and relevant in the engineering section. So that's what we're here to cover today, to take you through that and actually get into that kind of thing of how you actually kind of use that content to try and win some work, generate some leads, and all that kind of really, really good stuff. So always good to get you energized and get you in the room virtually with us. So we're going to start, and Holly, because I don't have the ability to do this kind of stuff, is going to find out what types of content marketing do you or your firm currently use. So if you can fill in that poll and survey, that'd be fantastic.
So that poll should be live now. If it doesn't pop up, next to the chat Q&A function should be something that says polls as well, and you should be able to answer that. But as you can see, the types of options are there, so you can always type that into the chat what your firm uses. But I see some replies are coming in. It's a pretty even split right now: video content, case studies, social media. As more of you reply, we're getting some fun answers. You just let me know how long you want this poll to be open, and then I'll report the results once we close it off.
Yeah, okay. Keep it open for the next couple of slides, and we'll come back to it then.
Sounds good.
Awesome. I need to do it later. So I'll now hand over to Rob. We'll take you through the first part of our presentation. Over to you, Rob.
Okay, thanks very much, Ben. And that's great to hear. It sounds like some of you are already using some of those channels, which is great. So we're just going to reiterate some of those and perhaps give you a few takeaways as well that you might be able to, take back and implement in your business. So first of all, why content marketing is vital for engineering consultancies, and creating effective content strategies for the purposes of attracting and retaining quality clientele. Excuse me. So why should your company create content anyway? Well, just like any other industry, engineering consultancy firms need effective content strategies in place to help attract and retain those quality clients. I believe it's the single most important thing that you're wanting to achieve from doing this work. You're going to get your audience more familiar with you and what you do. And as they do this, it will increase engagement or start a conversation that may become your next lead or your next job. You want to be seen as an industry leader. So you want to be seen as that authoritative industry leader, expert in your field, and hopefully a step ahead of your competition. So getting your expertise out there for people to learn about helps cement your place as the leader in your field. And the oldie but a goodie, have your industry know, like, and trust you. So we all know about this, but just demonstrating your knowledge and expertise in the industry and showcasing your abilities through effective content marketing is a key way for potential clients to learn more about you and ultimately look at you with those 3 golden traits: the know, like, and trust. Now, it may seem like a lot of hard work to put together all this regular content, like your articles, your blog posts, videos, social media posts, etc. However, the potential rewards of doing so will ensure your efforts are well worthwhile. And client research. So here we're referring to, it's important to remember that your potential clients will do their homework by going online and researching you. So just like, we all do when we're considering making a major purchase, you're going to go online and check out the models, the features, etc. So you're more informed on what you're buying when you walk into that store and hand over your hard-earned cash. The same will apply for your clients. So making sure that you have that great content available for them to find and consume will really help them to get to know you before they get to that stage of doing business with you. So what types of content marketing should engineering firms create? So once you've decided on your main business goals and created a robust content marketing strategy, it's time to get to work on the content creation and what types of content you should prepare. So in the written form, as we've said, articles, blog posts, anything written, compelling content in the written form is clearly the most popular, or some would say the easiest to prepare. However, it doesn't need to be all written, obviously. Video is fast becoming the go-to content medium on many platforms. So if you're going to do video, they need only be brief and to the point, and there's little required in terms of fancy graphics or effects. It's not necessary to have a high-scale production The videos will make you more personable. It shows the human side. People get a sense of who you are and get to know you, and you come across as more authentic. One good idea is profiling team members in a Meet the Team style video series. You could publish case studies or the results of recent projects, as long as confidentiality allows, of course. And then audio content. So you might want to set up a podcast and have short clips of experts in your firm providing valuable thought leadership content. Interview experts and have them share details of projects or particular skills. And again, all this doesn't need to be costly. Many firms create their own quality audio-visual content in-house rather than paying expensive experts to do it for them.
So, Holly, have you got the results of that poll now?
Absolutely. So the big winner is social media. 38% of the audience use social media, followed closely by case studies with 27%. 19% use blogs and articles. 12% use video content, and 4% all of the above. We didn't have anyone who said they used thought leadership books or magazines. All right, so I'll close that poll now.
That's really interesting to see that social media is the big winner there, and perhaps not surprising in the current climate. And it's good to see video being more used. It's interesting to see the takeaway from magazines, and the reason I find that kind of interesting is we've just actually developed our own kind of business development playbook, and we've printed it out. And we've started giving it out to clients at the end of training sessions. It's been really, really well. The cut through of actually using a different medium and the printed format has actually seen people really read it and engage with the material. There's a lot of digital out there, so it's good to do everything, but I think sometimes that kind of the whole marketing mix that both me and Rob were taught many, many years ago back in marketing school is really, really powerful to use every kind of form of communication and not just hang your hat on one kind of thing.
Yeah, indeed. And case studies as well, was that was the number 2 in the poll there?
Yeah, that was,
yeah. Particularly in this kind of industry, it's a brilliant way of getting quality content out there.
Yeah, social proof being the buzzword, right, Rob?
Yeah. All right. So what to include in your content marketing strategy? So here we're really talking information and education. So if you want to really utilize your strategy effectively, the content you produce should be predominantly from an informational or educational angle. You want to ensure it doesn't come across as a sales pitch. Thought-provoking and education-based pieces are always going to be better. You're not trying to sell your services directly through this activity. You are the authority and expert in your field, offering quality services that solve the needs of your clients. So sharing more about how you do that is highly beneficial to them. And you'll always want to have a call to action, which, as I say, is not part of a sales pitch, but every piece of content that you produce in that sort of way should have something that directs the reader to read the next article for more on this topic, or watch this video that we prepared about X topic. So the reader may then go on and read more about you, or find out more insights about your business and what you can potentially do for them. So, the more sort of helpful information or insightful content you can provide, without them having to dig too hard for it, the more they'll get to like you. The more they'll get to know you and like you, and likely want to do business with you. It also means that by the time you do have that all-important first client meeting, they'll already know a lot more about you, your firm, and yeah, what you can potentially do for them. So you want to try and be a little bit different, interesting, or even controversial. It's a given here that you want to attract leads and increase revenue. However, what else can you do? What else can you put in the mix to appear more personable and stand out from the rest? So you want to try and create content that not only resonates with your target audience, but is also thought-provoking, interesting, and, as I said, maybe a little bit controversial. That's up to you, of course, but yeah. So some firms do a great job of showcasing themselves as fresh, vibrant, and moving with the times. So by doing that and shaking off sort of a stuffy or outdated image, your audience will get to know you as the kind of firm that they want to engage with. And creating free resources. So think about what resource-based content you can give away for free. So we're not talking about giving away all your company secrets or IP gratis and having nothing to charge for at the end of the day. But you can create helpful resources like ebooks and guides, as Ben mentioned earlier. Some of the things that we've created along those lines. There are other things that you could give away for free, like checklists or answers to 10 of the most popular questions that client base, looks for answers for instance. Resources like these that they can download and save and take away can be really good tools to help with client engagement and also your brand recognition.
So just before we move on, because I lost a bit of Rob's audio there, so he was talking about guides, magazines, and ebooks and toolkits and all that kind of stuff that you can download for free that people give their email for in exchange. They're really, really powerful. And actually, from personal experience, we started with a mailing database of 0, and we're well past 600 now by using these actual lead magnets, as they're called in the trade, to actually build a mailing list that we can go out to. So from starting business, we can actually show and demonstrate this actually works, as Rob was alluding to there, but the audio was a little bit fuzzy. So hopefully that clears that up.
Okay, so moving on to what should you post exactly? Well, sharing relevant industry links. So there could be news, new initiatives, projects, things that are going on in your industry that are relevant, industry related. Some of those that you can find on LinkedIn and things like that are relevant to your business, and it helps with that engagement. And it also helps with the algorithms in LinkedIn and so on. The more activity that you're doing there, your projects, the tasks and jobs that you've done. You could share some of those results where applicable, of course. You've probably done many great projects that you completed that have involved, innovation, problem solving, teamwork, all those great things. So you want to try and showcase some of those if you can, and some of the work that your teams have put into them. It tends to show you in a really great light, and it can help to wow your audience with what your company and what your teams are capable of. evergreen content. So we're just talking about obviously content that's not tied to a particular date or point in time. You can repurpose it again and again, or you can take snippets of that to use on other platforms. Imagery, infographics or diagrams are always great to use, as you know, visuals are kind of the new headline, if you like. People really like those infographics, for example. And some of the best posts include imagery, it's a big factor in that engagement. People do like more imagery over lots of text. So if you're creating image-based posts or carousel ads, things like that, you want to use quality images with real people, preferably your own people, and adopt your own style without it looking too sort of stock standard imagery. And again, another point there about creating your own audio visual content. So again, it's great if you can make your own videos or your own podcasts. Make sure you use brand cues early in the clips and keep them to a minute or less. And you always want to include subtitles to ensure content is accessible for everyone, as around 80% of video is consumed with no sound. And again, you always want to have a call to action to help lead people to more of your great content. So what channels should engineering firms promote their content on? So we've got an idea of what you have been or are using already, and that's great. So just a few points here. You know, if you are going to create, or particularly all this written content, you want to ensure that you've got a blog site or an article page, or for what we use, for instance, is we call it insights. So a repository there that you can put all of this content, or you know, you may wish to have a separate blog site if that suits you better. But you want to link to that site from everything else that you do. So the content-rich pages containing, you know, your relevant keywords are also great for SEO purposes and getting your organic page views as you start to grow it. And the other good point here is that it's also good if you've got a method of measuring page views or the readership of those articles or pieces. So that way you can repurpose the most popular ones. You can see, you know, who's really engaged with that particular piece, and then at a later date you might repost it because it was so popular and people might have missed it the first time around. YouTube. So you want to use your YouTube channel as a repository for all the video content you create. And again, it's a good place to link to direct traffic. Of course, YouTube is owned by Google, so linking to it will inevitably increase your SEO rankings as well, which is all good stuff. And again, you want to make sure that all the videos you create have subtitles for diversity and accessibility. As we said, most people watch them without the sound on. And you do need to make sure that you go through and correct the spelling and grammar on all of your subtitles as well, because it's amazing how many you see that don't actually do that, and that's not a good look. So a little bit about LinkedIn. We're all familiar with LinkedIn. Has over 800 million members, 2 million in New Zealand, and 58 million companies on there. So if you're not really utilizing this channel to its full potential, you're missing out quite majorly here. It really helps to, to land potential clients and sort of elevating and getting your business known in the industry. So I'd recommend putting some time aside to review and evaluate your company and your staff profiles to ensure that they're all optimized fully and working well for you. If you don't have time for this or you need some help with that, you can contact us. That's also something that we help businesses with as well. And yeah, just a little bit about social media. You've indicated that, that was the number one on the poll. So that's awesome. Obviously, depending on what platforms are most relevant to you and what you think your audience sort of identifies with, or you might, by the sounds of it, you might be already, doing a great job in that area, which is great. Another one that is the biggest thing at the moment is TikTok. And believe it or not, it's not just for dancing 14-year-olds anymore. It's the fastest growing social media site, which together with its Chinese version, which is called Douyin, I think that's how you say it. It has 1.6 billion monthly active users.
Wow.
And it took a very short time for it to grow that big, much quicker than Facebook or Instagram or anything else. And we'll have more information about TikTok in a separate piece that we're going to publish to our website, but it's sort of worth looking into that as well.
Yeah, and Rob, it's interesting with Facebook and then Instagram and these new emerging kind of social media channels. Lots of firms have actually used them really well to attract the next generation of talent. Obviously, different generations hang out on different forms of social media, so getting that engagement right, authentic, and using that platform, subject to privacy laws and where that sits for your firm, because obviously there's some issues around TikTok with that, might be a really smart way to kind of build that brand and attract the next generation of talent, which is one of the key factors in the industry right now for engineers, actually getting talent, both existing and experienced, and obviously the new generation as well.
Exactly. So, and lastly, I'm just going to talk about storytelling. So the great thing about storytelling is that it evokes human emotion and people relate to stories. So they can often see their own struggles or problems in the stories that you share. And they realize that perhaps you could have the answers that they need. So storytelling in the content marketing space, it's not a new thing. However, it has become a lot more popular in recent times. And it's a great marketing tool to engage your target audience and help build strong relationships with them. There are many ways that you can tell a story, and it doesn't need to be that difficult. So think about ways that you can get your stories across in your content marketing and boost your customer engagement. It could be by simply telling the story of how your business came to be, the history, the founders. You might have a mascot or a face of the company that people identify with that you can weave a story around. Think about ways that you can draw in your target audience by identifying their needs, their problems, their concerns, and provide the answers in a thought-provoking way that tells that story. And again, just think about examples of storytelling and content that you've seen. We've all seen various ads and things that tell great stories. So take notice of professional posts that you see daily that evoke that emotion. And if you can weave in a story aspect to the content that your customers can relate to and shows a human side, I think you're onto a winner in terms of content there. And here, just lastly, we've got a little infographic, which is the basic structure for creating a good story in your content. So it starts with an introduction. So why is this issue, or why is this project important? What will they get from reading it? Why should I read it? In your main body of your article. So this is where you're going to provide the solution briefly, sort of, here we've got 3 to 4 key points. How did you answer the issue? And of course, the conclusion. So what are the key takeaways? What, as a reader, what can I take away from it? What can I get from reading this? I've spent, my time reading that. What can I take away from it?
Awesome. Love that infographic, Rob. It's a really nice, clear way of explaining it.
It is. Yeah, it is good. Yeah. So that's pretty much the end of my section. So I'm going to hand back to Ben now for the next part.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm going to straight away leap in and ask for Holly's help again. Yeah. So we're going to launch a poll. And I just really want to know, do you currently get leads from your website? Whether you do, whether you don't, if you do, if they're poor, all that kind of good stuff. What I'll do is while you're thinking about that and answering that question, I'll do the next slide and then I'll pause and come back to the answer on that survey. So why are we doing all this content marketing? Out of the goodness of our heart and to educate the industry and all those kind of good stuff. And yes, there is a part of that, and it's really good to do. But ultimately, we want to promote our firms, promote what we do, and start getting those leads in. So it's really important to, when you create this great content, particularly some of the stuff we talked about that's a bit more thought leadership, or it's a guide, to actually get someone's email in exchange for that content. Be confident that your content's good enough that someone at the very least will offer their email in exchange. Doing that will actually add them to your mailing database and allow you to keep in contact with them with all the good stuff you do. On the back of that as well, you can use what we call nurture sequences or marketing automation. So if someone downloads some information around, I don't know, the future of cities shaping the urban landscape for the next 20 years or something like that, then every article that comes out could be something else about where you've done a project that has changed the urban landscape, or what your vision is for the future landscape. You can have 5 or 6 of those, and in doing that, you stay top of mind and you keep bringing the right content to the right audience, and that starts to go back to that like and trust. And even at the end of it, if you want, and if it comes from a person within your business, you can actually say, hey, if you want to chat more and find out more about this stuff, why don't you book a meeting? And now you can do that all online as well. So there's tools like Calendly and other ones where you can just book straight into someone's diary. So that can be really, really powerful. As we said, use social media to promote that stuff, to generate those leads with call and actions. But you can use paid as well as organic to actually promote that content. So if you're working and you're targeting a particular company or a government organization, you really want them to see something, particularly on LinkedIn, you can get to that granularity of detail in your sponsorship through your social media, where you can actually target the job levels and the companies and the organizations that you want LinkedIn to promote that content to in a sponsored format. So that can be a really, really powerful way of making sure the audience you are targeting actually sees the stuff you do, which will help generate the right kind of leads. And when you're speaking at events, don't be afraid to link to your digital downloads or have stuff that refers back to it in the material you give out. That will push people where you want them to go and help to generate those leads and build that further interaction. So Holly, have we got the results from that poll now?
All right. But the biggest answer, so with 31%, we've got yes, people do get leads from their website.
Awesome.
31%, so it's equal with yes and I don't know. And then 23% say no, they don't, and only 15% say some, but they're poor leads.
Okay. Which is a perennial problem I hear, which is hence why that one was actually in there. The leads can be quite poor, and that leads into the whole qualification process. But it's good to hear that some are generating there, and the don't know doesn't surprise me, and it segues in quite nicely into the next part of what we're doing here, right? Which is how you follow up those leads when they come in. And this is the part where across the industry, professional services and engineering, it tends to be done quite poorly. And sometimes the bigger the organization, the worse this gets. So it's important that they're followed up promptly. And if you think about it, anytime you put an inquiry in a website, even if you get an automated response back that lets you know how long it will be before someone gets in contact with you, that's actually quite comforting. You know that it's going to be 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it might be. It looks professional and it's smart. Now, if you're not going to use an automated response like that because you're not sure, it needs to be passed on to the right person from whoever looks after your web leads quite quickly. And it's really important the first response isn't the answer or solution. Perfectionism can lead to inaction. So actually just saying, hey, we've seen your inquiry. There's a few key points we want to just work through, but we'll come back to you tomorrow. In the meantime, could you just answer this? Keep the conversation going. It's really important to get that first answer out really, really fast. It keeps the person and that lead engaged, and it shows a professional, quick, speedy response. And look, if the person who would normally deal with that, the expert, isn't there, it's okay to say, hey, the person isn't in today. I'm just sending you to let you know when they'll be back, and actually acknowledging your email, and will be response quite soon. When you're answering them, give helpful advice where you can. Without giving the whole thing away, people have got an inquiry, make sure you actually are helpful and give as much advice as you can, which will lead to the next conversation or the next stage in that relationship. So be practical and helpful. Many people don't qualify the lead. So it's really important to kind of ask lots of questions, how important whatever it is they're inquired about is to them, how far in their thinking they are, what else they'd like to see, whether they want this resolved, do they have budget set aside for this? All these really good questions, because if you spend too much time with these things, you will find that you're wasting time and you're starting to resent following up web leads to get in there. And look to book in some form of meeting or conversation with them. A lot of old school sales trainers would say that you need to have a face-to-face. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think you just need a good conversation, whether it's 15 minutes on the phone, whether it's online, or if it is indeed face-to-face. And look, face-to-face is always easier. You can read people's non-verbal communications. It's a much easier form of communication. But depending on where they're based and depending on your client's or potential client's preference, you can have that conversation and unearth the things you need to do to progress it to the next stage in any format. But it's really important to have that booked in. Even if it's a phone call, booking the time in will make it happen and make it a priority for both them and for both you. The last thing is either close a deal or break up. So it's quite common for people to inquire about something and then go cold on you. If they do, you're within your rights after 2 or 3 attempts to, meaningfully say, look, it looks like this is no priority to you. You've given up on this. We'll leave it there and that's hear back from you. So close it out professionally. Make that clear to them, and that's really important, to have a really structured process how you follow these leads up. You've spent an awful lot of time and money and marketing energy from your experts and their time, which is really, really valuable within the business creating. It's important that they're followed up quickly, promptly, and with a good system. That way you're more likely to convert a really, really high percentage of them. So this part's often overlooked, but it's actually the critical part in driving your business forward. That's pretty much all we wanted to discuss today. As we mentioned earlier, and I think 2 slides previous, don't be afraid to link to your digital articles. So there's a couple of hours there. They are designed to help and assist you. So if they're useful, that's where it is. That's the end of the formal slide. If there's any questions or anything that's come through, we'd love to hear them and answer them now.
I'll give some time for people to type in their questions or comments or anything like that. Yeah, I'm trying to. If I had a question for you, definitely someone who's a novice, who, this isn't my area of expertise, and you've given a lot of really good tips and suggestions. So for someone who is a novice, what would you say the one thing you should start with? Start focusing on this.
I would say something that you can achieve in the time you have, that you can do consistently. So all marketing is around consistency of delivery. So even if it's just posting a news article or sharing all the case studies from your firm on social media, and you do it every Thursday, write a little bit and just do it consistently.
Brilliant. And just a follow up, because I don't know, I'm sure there are some people in the audience who are probably in a similar situation to me. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of our attendees. Time poor, maybe you've got young kids and you're just like, I don't have time to keep up with my thing. Is that where they could potentially come to you for help with regular content? Or is that something that they need to go to maybe a content creation agency? What would you recommend in that space?
It really depends on their goals. So absolutely, Rob's our head of content marketing. He does create content and write content in this space. Currently engaged doing that for someone over in Australia. All that and LinkedIn. So we do that, and it's also the content planning we do for them as well, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, so it's just sort of discussing, what and nutting out a strategy, I guess, and just seeing what's going to work best for them, what's going to work best in their industry, and how we can put something together to help with that.
Cool.
Yeah, look, there'll always be an element where we need the experts or the engineers or the consultant engineers' time and expertise. So we build that content plan like any plan we do, like someone's BD plan, about how much time they actually have. And we're quite pointy in how we ask that question, and deliberately so, because we want them to succeed and have something they can replicate. So, if it comes to the fact that they've only got enough time to have a quick chat and we can produce a 500-word article, then we'd rather have a series of those than trying to do a big all singing, all dancing booklet where they just never have the time and it never gets executed properly.
Yeah. It's a good point to lean into what you have time to do, and don't focus on eating the whole elephant. Just take one bite at a time.
Yeah, and look, we
have got a couple of other questions
Awesome.
that have come through. Direct email newsletters was not one of your marketing options. Is there a reason why?
Not particularly. I think we touched upon it in the sense of collecting email addresses and direct mail marketing in marketing nurture. It's a really useful form of marketing. The industry stats are around about 20% open rates. If you're doing that, it's quite good. It's a good top of mind. And since you've spent all that time collecting it, you absolutely should use it and link back to your content. And it's useful for event invites. Is it the sole way that you'll get there? It's more of a means to get the content out there and keep an engagement with your existing audience. But increasingly, the drop-off rate and the readership rate is a little bit lower than it has been, and that's probably because there's been more of it over the last 2.5 years than ever before. But absolutely still key, wouldn't you say, Rob?
Yeah, I'll just add that. Yeah, there's because some other means are obviously more popular these days, and so on. But I still believe that there is a place for email marketing, even if it's just continuing recognition, and just whatever you've got that's new or upcoming events, as you mentioned, those sorts of things. But you can't expect your open rate to be hugely high. It's still, as you say, around 20%.
Good to know. And then we've got another one that someone needs some clarification on the reason for closing out the lead at the end. Is it just about closure, or is there something else to it?
I think it's a professional way of ending it, right? At some point, yeah, it is a little about closure, so you can say that it's got to a certain point, right? So if they become a client in a conversation, great. If they're ghosting you, you just need to send that last email to say, hey, I won't chase you up anymore. Seems like this has gone away, but should it come back, you know where we are. So it's actually saying to them, look, I'm not going to chase you anymore. It's done, unless you decide otherwise. So it gives them a chance to come back. Quite often, at that point, they do often come back as well. It's a kind of tactic around, hey, you've given up on this. You don't want to do any more. I'll leave it with you. And sometimes, actually, no, it's important to me. I just forgot.
Yeah, unofficially, I mean, I'm definitely, like I said, not a marketer, but I find that something similar like that works for me when I am chasing someone for a reply, hey, can you speak at this event? Yes or no? I say, listen, I'll follow up with you in 2 weeks. And whenever I include that in the bottom of the email, usually they come back and say, oh, hey, it's kind of like one of those, I don't want to be bothered again, so I'll just answer you.
And I think it's important from your firm and from your personal reputation to show that you do follow things up and that you are across things, and you do want to help people, and you are there. If they choose not to go any further, then that's fine, and they'll leave. And they may come back with a different inquiry, and they may be a genuine person who will buy from you at a different juncture, either where they currently are or at a different organisation. I mean, it's a very small village and industry you work here in New Zealand, after all. So it's just good to do that professional thing and close it off.
Excellent. All sounds like really good points. And we haven't had any more questions, but we do aim to wrap up our webinars slightly ahead of the 1 hour, give people time to, transition to any other meetings they have.
Awesome.
So without further ado, I mean, I've certainly enjoyed the content. I really hope our viewers have as well. As you can see, you also have those 2 links to free resources that Ben and Rob have provided for you as our audience. So yeah, feel free to get in touch if you do want to reach out and get some help with your content strategies, content marketing, content creation. But if nothing else, we really hope you've taken away 1 or 2 actionable things that you can turn around and do in your business tomorrow. So that's it for me. Just want to say one more thanks. And again, as a reminder, you'll be emailed the link to this recording later today. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. And I hope you have a really great rest of your day. Cheers. Bye.